Faith, politics, and sports. Three things people say not to mix. So here we are. Welcome to GPS, God, Politics, and Sports. I'm Bill Smith, bringing you real conversations on faith, political activity, sports, and the issues connecting them all. Good day, everybody. This is Bill Smith with GPS, God, Politics, and Sports. And you're looking at this helmet right here. I'm excited about this helmet because this is my 5-year-old grandson's helmet. It's his first helmet and I was honored to be able to buy it. As he ventures into tackle football. Now, right now, he's not able to do tackle because it's just flagged for his age group, but he wanted to practice tackle. So since my 7U team is out there and we have tackle, I said, well, I'll get him equipment, which I did. And I will put him out there and let him start to learn. And the best thing about it is they're taking it step by step with that. But he came home from practice yesterday and he was upset. And he said he was upset because he didn't get to hit anybody. So they were just walking through. So hopefully between now and the time he goes back to San Antonio, he'll get a chance to get some hitting in. But anyway, this is God, Politics, and Sports, and I am looking forward to a great and a very controversial, if you will, podcast today. We're going to touch on a subject in an area that people tend to not want to get into. But first off, I want to welcome our new sponsor, Expert Construction Group. You can find it in the at link.v1ce.co. It is a construction, as it says, group. They did some work on my roof. I know Joaquin Yanez, who is the owner, is a tremendous young man. And I know it'll be a great blessing to you. So you need some work it ain't have to be in the El Paso area. Now, man, they're not going to jump on a plane and fly to Tokyo unless you pay for it, or London, or Munich, Germany, or whatever, all the different places that we've already have listeners in Canada, Florida, those areas. But I definitely know in El Paso that they will definitely get in here and come and they have some commercial and residential construction. So they'll do a great job for you. So Expert Construction Group, and you can email them or find their link. It's at link.v1ce.co. And I will make sure that information is down below when you go to look at it. So I'm all about keeping things light here on GPS. But I like to touch on a great area today that hovers over God or the church. It doesn't hover over God. It hovers over the church or people that say that they're born again or living for God, whatever it might be. Definitely politics and always in sports. This subject matter is far greater than the one day that we'll be addressing this. So this will be something that we will revisit over time. It's not something that I want to get into all the time, but I think it's something that's important that we do address. And here at God, Politics, and Sports, we want to make sure we address those things that are very important to everybody. And I know this is very important. The proclivity to rush to race has been the scourge, has been the underbelly on the U.S., the fungus on the U.S. since its inception. Built now since, it's even more demonstratively sought now in all situations. Folks, I don't know if you ever watch. I have to be very careful. Now, this is me, and I'm sure there might be others. I have to be very careful when I do look at things on social media. Because one of the things I do notice is if anything is not the way somebody wants it, they play the race card. And that's not just liberals, it's conservatives also. More so on the liberal side. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. You can go and look at yourself and please, if anybody says, well, you're only saying that because you're more conservative. No, I'm saying it because I do the homework. I look at it. And more things are brought up in that manner instead of challenging people for their intellect, for their integrity, for what they study, what they learn, their character. Immediately race is brought up. DEI was a big thing. And that's one of the things that we see on a continual basis. So whether it's from people who are prospering to low income, race is always attached to it. I'm not the one who's doing it. I'm going to be the one addressing it today. We're going to address it today because I think it's very important that a topic like this, down below in the comments, I want to hear from you. Just don't watch it and then walk away. One of the things that I desire and I know is going to happen with GPS is that you get more involved. Don't just let a topic, especially one like this, just come and go. This is something that you really need to get involved in. I want to hear from you because there will be a part 2 and a part 3. And those things that are shared with me, I will begin to share with you, whether I agree with it or not, because that's how we keep good communication open. And as we work our way to our first live show, which should be coming up in a few weeks, I want to make sure we have all the ducks in order. So I want to hear back from you. And for those that are on our streaming sites from around the world, literally globally, because this also affects you, because even in your own individual countries, there's race issues. Your country can be predominantly black. There might be race, predominantly Hispanic, predominantly, Asian, whatever it might be, but there can be race issues. Race issues are not just external, they're also internal. You have race issues in the black community, but it's a skin color thing. Dark versus light versus really light. You get those things. You get those things in the Hispanic community. Darker versus lighter. You get it in even in the white community. Now that's more so maybe off of income, but also you have how they look. And so race is an issue all the way across the board. So I want to hear back from you as well. As you find ways to leave comments, I want to hear back from you from across the globe, because we hear about this from across the globe. And if you are listening on one of the streaming sites and you say, hey, I really want to give an answer, but I don't want to do it, then go to GPS with Bill Smith at YouTube. And you can go right on there and subscribe to the YouTube page and pull this right up, and you can leave all the comments you want as well. GPS with Bill Smith at YouTube. And that's how you can get on there right then and there. We need to start getting rid of this lie and disparage this lie of white privilege. I think a lot of times we put this thing out to make ourselves feel good about different things, and then we establish racism with that. And we're saying people have certain things just because they are white. Well, I've seen people on the opposite side where they might say, well, it's black privilege or Hispanic privilege. You get to do certain things because you're this, that, or the other thing. And I think it's disgusting all the way across the board. Because if I earn something and I work for something, it's not because of the color of my skin to me. My wife is white. So if anybody comes up to me and says, well, what gives you the right to say as dark as you are? Because my wife is just as white as I am dark. All right, my in-laws are tremendous. But we also have, we know, and the thing is, we've talked about these things, and that's what a lot of families don't do. They don't address these issues, and even with my children, one of the things I know with them is, and we've said before, well, you have white blood in you have black blood in you. No, you got red blood. The only color in your body is red. That's it. Now you may have the ethnicity that's there, and I firmly believe, man, I stand on the blood of Christ. But I understand what people are saying. Ethnically, hey, you're black, you have white blood, black blood. Just stick to red. And I'm not trying to disparage any part of my children. They all know that. They know it. But I just think that sometimes we get so caught up into those things that we forget about the person and we start looking on the outside. So whether it's crime, intelligent, how one may see themselves is far too often relegated to race instead of the individual. Have you ever looked on social media and a big fight's there and everybody there is black, and you go to the comments, because I go to the comments, and the first thing he says, well, if figures, look at them. If figures, look at them, that's wow. You just automatically say everybody fighting like that is black. We do that if there's a school shooting, must be somebody white. If there's a drive-by, must be somebody black. And unfortunately, those stereotypes at times are fulfilled. Intelligence, we automatically think, or so many people tend to think. I always get disgusted, and it disappoints me when I read and say, well, people say, well, the SATs are rigged and they're only made for white kids. Math is not color. History is not color. Geography is not color based. America is where America is. France is where France is. South Africa is where South Africa is. Whatever it might be. So we tend to put limitations on someone's intelligence or ability to learn because we look at their color. And we say, because of your race, this is a racist, this is racist, that. And we do it as black. And I'm going to address black folks directly. Far too often, those that call themselves greatly educated will limit the mindset and the education and the intelligence of young black kids because you're telling them, not white folks. Listen to what I just said. It's not white people telling them that. It's black folks telling them that this is rigged because you're black, so if you fail, it's okay. That's not life. That's not real. Because like I tell my kids in football, if you don't pay the light bills, nobody wants the excuse. They're going to turn your lights out. They're not going to look at your race. They're not going to say, well, they're black, they can't do it. They're white, they can't do it. No, your lights are going off. Don't limit what these children, and I love what my bishop has said, Dr. Michael Brown, and we had a great conversation with him, but one of the things he shared is we don't limit children. My granddaughter, they're hanging out with us for a couple weeks, and she sings in the room, and she sings loud. Like loud, I gotta turn the TV up. But I don't go and tell her to be quiet because she's endeavoring to sing, and she loves singing. My grandson is, everything he does is physical, and it's attacking and it's banging. I don't tell him to stop doing that because that's what he does. Now, sometimes, if I was watching something, I might say, dude, pipe it down a little bit. But you want them to keep doing it. You don't want to mess up their creativity. And that's so very important. So trying to meet a social status or you want to feel accepted is something that we need to stop doing and just let kids grow up and be kids. But even as adults, where there's music, family dynamics, different dynamics, heck, even love is haunted by the race narrative. Music, how often we say, well, R&B is just for black. What? No. Rock and roll is or heavy metal is just white. No. A musician can play whatever they want to. Someone singing can sing anything they want to. Your family, those family dynamics, those things, we got to stop basing everything off of race. And a narrative that should be self-regulated but gets too much outside influence. That narrative needs to be self-regulated but gets too much outside influence. Now I'm gonna give you my background real quick, and we talk about this and then you can really look, if you go back to one of my podcasts where I introduce myself. So I talk about, hey, this is me, this is who I am. And then also, this is, I do talk about it in a part 2, learning more about me. I grew up in a predominantly white town. My high school was 90-something% white. Were there race issues? Yes. Was I made to identify my grades, my SAT scores, et cetera, because of my race? No, my parents never did that. They never did that. Now, I'm not going to lie. Let's just keep it 100. Is it tougher times for somebody black to do things? At times it may be, but a lot of that ends up in that person's mind. I don't like just the labels that go on everybody with that. And during my time period of growing up, whether college, in the military, meaning my wife, And she knows there was. I didn't meet her, and I hadn't dated before. So, who I dated, with ethnicity I dated, it was never a big deal to me because I saw it in my family growing up. So it was never a big deal to me. Even with work, playing sports, you know what? I was always taught and I was always raised and I always saw it. I never saw anything different. And if it was hidden, I never saw it. The best person played, period. I had white coaches. I had my white wrestling coach, my freshman year, pushed me, and I didn't respond in the right way and do what he said, to go and challenge the kid that was at varsity, who was a white kid. And he said, you can beat him. But I thought because he was a junior, hey, he should get that shot. And I was wrong. So anyway, so that's some of my background when I say these things and I talk about this, because race is such a wall of division. But I'm going to tell you one thing. It starts in the church. Ooh, you can't say that. You can't say that. I just did. It starts in the church. The church, the body of Christ, perpetuates the major brick in this wall that needs to be torn out. Matthew 16:18 says, Jesus said, and I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Jesus said my church. He does not put any ethnicity on it. He does not say a black church. He does not say a white church. He does not say a Hispanic church. He does not say an Asian church. He doesn't say a German church. Doesn't say this. He doesn't say anything. But he says, my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Jesus says, my church. We have in this nation, and I'm sure around the world, sought or looked for an identity in our racial makeup instead of in Jesus. We've looked so much for our identity in our racial makeup. Oh, there's a lot of funny memes out there you look at that categorize different things, but I've never seen where in the word where God says if black folks don't cry out this way or white folks don't cry out this way. He never says that. He never says. He says make a joyful noise unto the Lord. You could be in rhythm or out of rhythm. Doesn't make a difference what your ethnicity is. It could be more upbeat, more low. I've seen where people were singing gospel songs that were white and black folks go, why they messing with our music? Last time I checked, it's not your music. It's glorifying God. It has nothing to do with your music. Because nobody says anything with CeCe Winans, and I don't, because CeCe off the chain. But she'll take a song that maybe was written and sang by somebody white. She sings it. It blows up the charts. And like they say, you've been CC'd, which is funny. I don't mean it, but no one says why she taking their music. We have seen it over decades where people have separated the church. And we got to understand one thing. The most segregated day of the year, of the week, segregated day of every week is Sunday in this nation. If not in the world, it's Sunday. Many believe that you can work with someone, you can go out to eat with somebody, you can go to the barbecue with them, but you can't sit in there and you can't praise God with them because they're either too dark, too light, they don't fit the picture, they won't be welcome in your church. We went to a ministry years ago before we ended up in Joy Center. They questioned my wife coming to pick up my oldest daughter because she was just 1, almost 2, out of the nursery because she was white. She's the same woman that dropped her off. She was hot. We never went back. And praise God we didn't, because not too long after that, within a few months, we were at Joy Center. But the point of the matter was this. It was a predominantly black ministry, and they saw it, and that's how they acted. I don't fault people for that. I grew up was the AME church, African Methodist Episcopalian Church. So it was predominantly, just about everybody was black. White folks, if they were with somebody, sprinkle in and out. but there was no call to integrate. There was no call to integrate and bring in, have whites and blacks and Hispanics and everybody worshiping together. But then I can go down the street to what they call a white church, and there was no call to integrate. But I can go out on the football field and play with their kids. My mom could sit next to my dad, could coach with them. We're sitting next to talking with them the whole time. And then Sunday morning to roll around and nothing. But that race, that brick, if it changed in the church, it'll change in the nation. Because a lot of things that the nation does mirrors what the church does. And I'm talking about folks in church. Because when did praising or worshiping God become a color thing? When John 4:24 says, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. There's no black worship. There's no white worship. There's no Asian worship. There's none of. We have to tear these walls down, tear this wall down, rip the very bricks out of this wall, piece by piece. We are chipping away at it with the word of God, because the word of God is what will change lives. But we can't keep holding on to the things of race. And when people say, well, they don't worship like we do. If I put a steak in front of a white dude, steak in front of a black dude, steak in front of an Asian dude, everybody's going to pick up the knife and they're going to cut it with their fork. They may not cut it exactly the same, but they're going to get the same results. They're going to eat that steak. You may not. I've been in our ministry for 35 years. I've seen all different ethnic groups come through. Some people are very open with their worship and their praise and getting excited. Some people a little more conserved, a little more reserved, I should say. But no one holds anybody accountable and says, you need to be praising God like this because this is what. How about you allow God to minister to them and touch their hearts and let them grow spiritually and let their relationship with Christ, and where they can worship him in spirit and in truth, but not just to put on a show because of their skin color. And that's very, very, very important. See, because I don't see a color attached to that verse at all, once again, but it is prevalent daily. So without a doubt, the world and its leadership and the media follow the dictates of what the church is doing. So I've heard stories of white pastors saying a white person is poor white trash if they go to a ministry that's with a black pastor. I've heard Hispanics do much of the same thing. I've seen or heard about black folks being ostracized if they go to a church that's predominantly white. And no one ever thinks about the fact that they're going to worship. And the first and most important thing is they're in the church to hear the word of God preached. And I tell people time and again, that's what I love so much about the ministry that I'm in, that my wife and I grew in, because we were on a point of divorce, and our marriage grew together because we were in a place that did not look at us by our ethnicity, our skin color. And I'm going to tell you, we are on different ends of the spectrum. As dark as I am and as white as she is, we are on different ends of the spectrum. But the thing is, nobody looks at that. They look at who we are as individuals. And that's very, very important. And I'm not going to say race doesn't play a part in some things. Yes, sometimes it does, because people may want to go where there's a like face. But, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, especially when it comes to youth sports. But after a while, the integrity and the character of a person is going to show out even greater than the color of their skin. And when that begins to happen, we see this even more so in politics. But this next part I want to talk to you about is Q Craft Sausage, one of our awesome sponsors, Q Craft Sausage. And once again, I'll put the information below in the comments. QCraftSausage.com. This is where you can get it from. Or Marquez Carr at QCraft-sausage.com. I'm telling you, this sausage is taking off. You have chefs now that are requesting it directly from him. No middleman. They want this sausage that this young man is putting together. He's stretching out across Texas. Actually, most of the Southwest is starting to catch wind of Q Craft sausage. So I want to encourage you. He's down in the Laredo area. I want to encourage you to get to qcraftsausage.com. Order your sausage directly. Look at his website, what flavors are offered, and order your sausage directly. Now, politics, again, is mirroring the way things are being done in church. It's amazing how easy it is to make an assumption on how someone thinks just because of the color of their skin. What are you talking about, Bill? Well, if you're black, you're supposed to be a Democrat. If you're white, chances are you're a Republican. If you're Hispanic, you better be a Democrat. That's how people put folks in the boxes, by their color. They don't allow anybody. But if you're different than that, I have been called names by people. I've been called house N-bomb. I've been called sellout, coon, jigaboo. Now, a lot of folks, they want to, none to the face. Now, this is from black folks. This is not white people. This is for black folks. Now, don't do it to my face. It's all on the internet. And if they do have the chance to see me, then they don't say it then. But that, I don't, you call it keyboard warriors. Because I'm more conservative and I might vote more on the Republican side of the House. I've seen people dog out or be dogged out. I've known guys that I've worked with over my years who are Hispanic, and their family has all but disowned them because they may vote a certain way or stand with a certain president. And I've seen people, and it's still all about race. I've seen people put into boxes, if you will, and other people perpetuate that because they keep them in that box. No one should tell you who to vote for. They present the case in front of you, and then you, using your own mindset, your own intellect, your own gathering of information, you choose who you want to vote for and where you want to stand. After that, everyone else just stop. I have family members I don't agree with. My daughter, she's like mini me. We don't agree with things politically, but you know how much we hold it against each other? Zero. She believes and stands where she wants to. I believe and stand where I want, etc. It's not going to mess her making, because the girl can cook. It doesn't mess that up. We're going to sit around and laugh and joke. We're going to have a good time because it's all temporal. Yes, I'm talking about it on God, politics, and sports, but I also understand one thing. It's all temporal because 50 years, well, I'm living to 120. So 50 years, so 70 years from now, maybe a little less, I won't be here. Somebody else, there'll be a brand new Trump, there'll be another Smith, another this. All these things happen. Lincoln didn't live forever. Well, John Wilkes Booth had a lot to do with that. But the bottom line is this. Things are temporal and they change. And we have got to stop letting race be something that carries us for a lifetime. And it ruins our life. I'm going to go back on one thing. Talking about my background. One of the greatest men I've ever met is my father-in-law. Did not like me. He didn't know me, but he knew I was black. So I know he wasn't thrilled with it. I know it. It's not a big deal. It didn't bother me then. My wife made a stand. She said, either you accept my husband or you don't accept me or our children. And she was right with that. But the one thing is, he gave me a chance to grow on him, if you will. And he saw how how my wife, his daughter, was being treated, how good her life is. And that's only because of the grace of God. It's not me. I'm obedient to God. God blesses us. We move forward together. But things she didn't have growing up, she has. She has now. But even at that time period. And once she got to know me, that I was against all the stereotypes. I'm not talking about because of politics with that. I'm just talking about period. The stereotypes that he had for a black man. Because he grew up in Indiana in that area, and that's just how he was raised. But the stereotypes that he had for a black man. I blew up. Done. Even to the point that prior to him passing away, someone was making racial jokes. I wasn't around because we would have tore the place up. He stepped up and he said, my son-in-law is black and I love him. My grandchildren are black. Stop. Now, I cleaned up the version that was shared with us, so I know there's a little more expletives in it. But it got to the point that he even said to me, the year before he passed away, he said, well, I don't get too emotional, hold on. He said, I want you to do my funeral. I want you to eulogize, et cetera, do my funeral. All the people, all those years, and people knew how, and then at that time period, he said to me, I want you to be the one that does this. And it tore down walls. And I remember I told my wife and my aunt Stacy and Uncle Sam's his brother. I said it was funny to me standing there and all those people that knew that maybe agree with him was standing there watching me speak over him. And it was such a, and I said to him when he said at the time, I said, thank you, Dad. It's an honor. It really is, because it shows how God changed his life and how when my son, who was 10 at the time, led him to the Lord in his hospital bed, and just a couple weeks later, he passed away. So I know he's in heaven. Yeah. But race was overcome. That wall was torn down and his life was changed. And even in politics, there are very few politicians that have not said something that someone could construe as racism, whether it was or wasn't, whether it was this president, past presidents. Everybody has said something that someone can misconstrue or accept or just jump in and say, that's racism, because they don't agree with what the person said. And they don't take it all in context. I can pull things out that Biden said that I could say that's racism. I could pull things out that Obama said that could be internal racism, external towards someone else. I loved Ronnie Reagan. You could probably pull things out from him. There's so many different things that you could pull out from things shared over time. Excuse me. From different politicians, white, black, or indifferent, that anybody can construe as racist or racism or want to play the race card. Automatically, they want to run to it. Assumptions of guilt based on race only to be proven wrong over time. There's an assumption of guilt. So in other words, they're assuming that person is saying something racial, they're being racist, but over time is proven wrong. You know, they show things where people say things, they'll speak it out and they'll say, I can't believe, Trump said boom, 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 boom. And they'll say, well, that was said by Obama. They'll say, well, this is racist and fascist and this should not be going on. Yeah, but Obama said it. And then they say, well, they kind of think, stop. You just said one thing. Either the comment is racist and fascist and whatever other is that people want to run to, or it isn't. You can't change it just to fit your narrative. That's something that people really need to stop to do. So James 1:19, got to go back to the word. James 1:19 tells us to be quick to listen and slow to speak. And I wish people from both sides of the aisle would slow down with the speaking and listen. That's what got folks in that's what got folks in trouble in Minnesota, and when they just started speaking out after that shooting, people within the administration, and they just started speaking out immediately, and they did not have all the ducks in order, and by the time they got the when they got the ducks in order, they realized they spoke out of place. And when they realized they spoke out of place, they were hemmed up because they were quick to speak and slow to listen. And that's why it's so very important that you are slow to speak and quick to listen. It is of the utmost important that you do that you are not running out in front of that bus, if you will, and allowing yourself to be absolutely eviscerated because you had your mind already made up for things and you had no idea what you were talking about. And in turn, once that happens, now you have a world of hurt that goes on with that. And that's why you see so much turnover, or you saw so much turnover in the cabinet, in different things, in the presidential cabinet and administration, of the turnover that happened, because you had people who were slow to listen and quick to speak. We don't want to do that. All right, we want to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Get all the information gathered together before you start running your mouth on different things. And once again, that's very important that we do that. Very important that we do that. It's very important because internal racial bias is also prevalent in politics. The name calling from black liberals towards anyone conservative is atrocious and only lends to the lack of black growth and influence politically. If you're tearing each other down within, nobody else wants to listen to you. Race baiting in the media and social media is rampant. Clickbait is more important than facts and truth. This is flowed into sports. In the sports world, where from youth sports to the highest levels, race issues can arise. And being over in the president of Spartans Youth Sports, who's one of our sponsors, I've seen this many times, but let me touch on this real quick. Let me touch on this. Game 3, Spurs versus Knicks. Big win by the Spurs. Absolutely tremendous win by the Spurs. And being one who's cheering for the Spurs in this, and my son-in-law and daughter, they're not going to be too thrilled. They weren't too thrilled with the game last night. But one, it was a good game. Two, both teams laid it on the line. But the Spurs finally did not falter down the stretch. The defense was stout. Wemby, I think his first 4 or 5 shots were in the lane within 3 to 4 feet. Now, a dunk is a dunk. A lob is a lob. They can't stop him lobbing. They can't stop him from lobbing. But it was a tremendous series to watch. The final score was 115 to 111. So game 4 will be Wednesday night. So when this podcast comes out, game 4 will be later on that day. The venue was just packed with folks. President Trump did something that no other president has ever done, which is attend an NBA Finals game. Why people were tripping out over it, I don't know. I'll tell you this much. Whether it's Stephen A. Smith, Gillibrand, or whatever her name is, Hochul, whoever it might be, if that's your excuse because the president was there, the Knicks lost, that's trash. Because if the Knicks would have won, what were you going to say? I'm waiting. Thank you. Give the other team credit. Next thing is, don't say somebody was never a Knicks fan when you could see him shaking hands with Patrick Ewing. He's sitting right there in the same seats that you're now sitting in. He was sitting in. He's always been a Knicks fan. And the very last thing is this. So for everybody watching this, who maybe you didn't agree with him being there, the owner of the team invited him. He did not. College football, he did. The Super Bowl, he probably. UFC, he just said, well, UFC, a lot of times Dana White. But he said, hey, I want to go. James Nolan invited him to a game. That's an honor. You should be honored that your owner wants the president of the United States at a game, whether you like him or not. Whether you want to be one of the idiots that sit up in the stands and boo him or not. And I'm saying that, and I don't care who the president is. If I'm standing there and I may not be a fan of Biden's, I'm not booing him. Because I'm going to tell you one thing, and I still stand on this. Other nations respond to our policies by how the media and the public treats the leaders. argue that point. Tell me they don't, and I'll tell you you're lying. One of the things that Iran, I got to get back to the sports part. One of the things with Iran that they hold on upon is that every single day our media comes out negatively. So every time we think we're getting to that point of settling this thing down, watch another story pop out and then watch them fools run with that story, because we're presenting a one thing that I saw, and it was a Vietnam vet, and he said the protest over Vietnam really didn't start until 1968. And then you saw a great turn. We still won battles on the field, but it was a great turn that happened within it. Anyway, let me get back, because I kind of got off a little bit, got onto a whole nother tangent, whole nother subject matter. Anyway, so the Spurs did a great thing. Now, some people are going to talk about the amount of free throws that were shot. I think it was 24-8, 10, something like that. Now, understand something. Complete picture is this. It was only a 25-20 disparaging in fouls. It's when the fouls happened. See, because they were earlier in the quarter, so it created more free throw opportunities for the Spurs at different times. So you have to look at that point in there. So please don't get caught up just in the numbers. When did those things happen? I thought the Spurs were very physical with Brunson. Very physical. Almost hockey-esque physical. Almost Game 4 of the NHL Finals tonight, which is Tuesday. So the results when the podcast come out will already be over with. But the Vegas Knights and Carolina Hurricanes are putting on a great series going back to Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry. Game 4 is in Carolina. 2-1, the Vegas is up. Game 4 is in Carolina. So it's been a great, I'm looking forward. I think it's going to be a 7-game series. But as I was saying, with basketball, these guys have stepped up. Dylan Harper does not look like a 20-year-old out there balling. He is balling. Castle, 22 years old, killing it. And of course, Wemby, I believe, is 23. If they keep that group together, and over time, money's going to play into it, but if they keep that group together, I think they can do a lot of damage. A whole lot of damage over at least next 8 to 10 years, easy. But I think salaries and money, they'll separate along the way. But I thought that was a tremendous game, and I look forward to the rest of the series. If the Knicks win tomorrow, I still say the Knicks win tomorrow, it's over. I don't see them losing 3 straight. If the Spurs win tomorrow, that's great. But once again, I don't see the Knicks losing 3 straight. So that means they'll probably win the next game in San Antonio on Saturday and head back Monday or Tuesday. They would head back to, they'd be heading back to New York, only needing 1 game to finish it. So it's going to be exciting. These next few days are going to be very exciting. World Cup gets underway on Thursday. I'm excited for it. Now, I'm not very much a big soccer guy, but I love big events like this. And I ride with USA, baby. I ride with the USA. USA. So I ride with USA. So I'm hoping that they do very well. I believe, looking at their group, I believe they'll get out of the group stage and they'll get to the knockout round, and then that's when they'll fall. And they've done it before. I think it was 92, 94. One of them, I can't remember exactly what year it was, they got to the knockout round before they fell. But they look good against Germany, even though they lost 2-1. They put that kind of fight up that says, hey, they can go forward and they can get it done and win those, win their grouping. So at least get out of their group. And as we look at it, the U.S. is in Group D. The U.S. is in Group D, and their first game is Friday against Paraguay. So that's where they're starting off at. That's their first game. Let's see who else is in Group D with the U.S. Group D consists of Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. So they're not facing any real soccer powerhouses as we look at it. So Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. but you can't come in there slipping and sliding and think you're just going to walk your way through it. They're going to have to go through and they're going to have to battle. Some of these groups are just loaded up. And once again, I'm not a big soccer aficionado. I really didn't get into soccer till my son started playing FIFA with me when he was still in high school. And I hate losing, so I had to figure out who these teams were so I could fight back and win. Mexico's in Group A. I think that's favorable for them. South Africa, Korea, and the Czech Republic, give them a good one. Korea's usually pretty good. I'm not familiar with South Africa, but Mexico's not too bad of a group there in Group A. Canada's in Group B, which also is Bosnia, Herzegovina, Qatar, and Switzerland in their group. Group C, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Yes, you're looking for Brazil to win their group in that one. As we said, the U.S. is in Group D. I see them being one of the two teams that come out of their group. The biggest thing is you don't want ties. You want to get W's. So they definitely want to get W. Group E, and folks, like I said, I'm not a big soccer person, but just the fact that I'm going over these groups means that I'm very much so interested in this World Cup. Germany, Morocco, Ivory Coast, Ecuador, Group E. That's definitely a Germany's group to win. Group F, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Tunisia. That should be good. I think I might lean towards Sweden on that one. I'm not too sure about all those. So a lot of them, I might just be going off of names. Group G, Belgium, Egypt, Iran, New Zealand. I guess I'll go with New Zealand or Belgium. Belgium probably. Group H. Man, how many groups they got, man? All these different groups? Okay, I'm not going through half the alphabet. Anyway, you see that there's going to be a lot of really good soccer that's going on across the country. So please, I pray everyone do your due diligence, watch your surroundings, and support that was going on, the great things that's going on in this country. Now back to the race issue before we get ready to close out. We're quick to label a person because of their ethnicity. Sometimes you see somebody, if a black athlete gets in trouble, it's because they're a thug. Or we turn it around, we say, hey, we're the victim. If it's a white athlete, he's racist or he's the aggressor. We start labeling people without knowing who the person is. We saw it not too long ago with Jackson Dart. Everybody and their grandmother wanted to label him as a racist because he introduced the president. But then Abdul Carter wants to be called, or people want to call him a hero because he didn't agree with it. Well, why are you playing their races against each other? They're teammates. And I said that at this time, Carter shouldn't have said anything and Dart shouldn't apologize. And I would say the same thing if it was the opposite way. I may not agree with everything that Carter might say or believe in, but as his teammate, I'm not, unless it was something egregious, where he just spoke up for something that was just trash. Maybe you might say it then. But just to introduce someone, unless the person's a Nazi, and we're not going to talk about politicians that are Pinner, I think his name is something like that. We're not going to talk about that, who have swastikas on them that the Democrat Party's pushing. But anyway, let's get back to this. Real quick, I have a story. I was at Fort Sill for a BNOC, which is, at that time, it was Basic Non-Commissioned Officer course. And I was standing there next to a white dude. And this is where stereotypes come in with race. I was standing next to a white dude, and the guy picked me. And I thought, I'm really not a basketball player. I was just out there for exercise. I didn't say anything, got out there running around play. This white boy was bad. This dude was killing it. And I really thought to myself, because as soon as my team lost, I went to the weight room where I'm more comfortable. The guy basically told me, I picked you because you're black and you're athletic. And I said to him, I said, okay, you're right. Two things. I am black and I'm athletic, but I'm not really a basketball player. I just like running around out here. The dude that you didn't pick because he was white was good, but you never took that chance because you looked at the color of his skin. But even within youth sports, race is looked at as a barometer for athletes. A lot of times people will look and say, well, hey, there's 4 little black kids, there's 3 little white kids, and a couple of Hispanic kids. I want all 4 of those black kids. not even knowing what the other kids can do. But they play race. And I'm going to admit, I've done it myself more than one time over 30 plus years of coaching. And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. But it doesn't dictate the integrity and the character of that kid. Does race play some genealogy-wise, gene pool-wise, etc.? You can't deny it. Yes, it does. But that shouldn't be the baseline for everything. Because there are things that others can't do, maybe physically, but their drive and their character oversees the athleticism and makes them a better player. Doesn't matter what color the person is. All right. Race and the topic of race can be addressed and can't be addressed in one show. But a deep dive is truly a lifetime of addressing this matter. It needs to be a deep dive that goes into this. I have seen it, and I shared it with one person before, especially when it comes to parents bringing their kids out. A lot of parents are going to go to where there's familiarity with. And I shared with one man before, a good friend of mine. He said, I'm not getting any black kids. I said, because they're coming out to my team because I've covered all the spectrums. I have black coaches, white coaches, Hispanic coaches, and I did it on purpose. Not to play the race card, but to show people that I don't play the race card. And that any child that comes out here will be treated correctly. Not because of the color of their skin, but the content of their character and the effort that they give us. But I said, people are going to be familiar. People are going to look and they're going to see there's something different about this organization than the others that only have this kind of coach. And over the years, it's been made us very fortunate, very blessed. And I get excited because these kids that haven't played for me in 20 plus years, all they see is coach. They don't see my ethnicity. They don't see my color. They don't see my race. And they're grown. And when I see them, all I see is them. And that's why it's so very important. And that's why I wanted to address this topic, because race is a wall of division. We need to tear it down between New Jersey to California, from Florida to Alaska, Canada, across the water to Hawaii, into Japan, Africa, Europe, Asia. We need to tear down that wall of race, and let's start looking at people for who they are as individuals and not just the color of their skin. Does it play a part sometimes in things? I'm not foolish, I'm not naive, but it shouldn't be the main thing all the time. And that's why I stepped up on God, Politics, and Sports to introduce that so we can start to tear those walls down. I desire your comments. Leave them below as we talk about race, the wall division. Let's tear that puppy down. God bless you. God is good. You're an awesome people. Don't let race dictate to you who you are or anybody else tell you that. As well as don't you use that for anybody else. Talk to people. See who they are and what they're all about. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. God bless you and have an awesome day. GPS. Well, folks, that wraps up today's episode of GPS, God, Politics, and Sports. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay grounded and stay engaged. God, Politics, and Sports.